Content writing is emerging as the most lucrative form of writing because you know what? It's the only form of writing, perhaps, which you can use to eventually create an income stream. All other forms of writing, whether you want to write fiction, you want to get a novel published, or you want to get your poetry books published, it can be done on the side, but it's difficult to generate money from a novel or from your poetry books, unless, of course, your book ends up being a bestseller. But content writing is the kind of writing which, if you are at it continuously and if you constantly hone and develop your writing skills, it can definitely land you somewhere, in terms of a job or in terms of building a side income stream. But then we come to the challenging part. Getting ideas for content writing is difficult. If you have to write a novel, then all you have to do is to think of a central plot, a central story, and then you just got to develop that central story and, keep on expanding and developing your characters further. But in case of content writing, you need to think of multiple ideas because you have to be, constantly creating content and writing on different topics, which can be very challenging. So in this video, I'm going to give you 5 tips to create ideas for writing content, to get ideas for writing content. Tip number 1, follow the daily news. Now guys, on the face of it, news might seem to be the most unrelated thing to content writing, but trust me, I'm a journalist. If you follow the news regularly, you'll get a number of ideas for writing content. Now, when I'm talking about following the news, you should follow news from all sources, including daily newspapers and different news websites. And you should not just limit and restrict yourself to political news, international news, or business and finance news. Follow as much news you can across different beats and areas, be it local news, news about art and culture, social issues, environment, science, technology, anything can be a potential source of valuable content. I'll give you an example. For example, if your niche is cryptocurrency, you're writing about cryptocurrencies, then these days, a lot of countries, in fact, most of the countries across the world are considering regulating cryptocurrencies, and this is in the news almost every day in some form or the other. So you could follow all this news regularly and then write articles analyzing the future of cryptocurrency going by these news trends. What you can also do, and this is something which I utilize a lot for my content writing, is pick up an idea from a local news article, from a local news item, and then adapt it to your own content. For example, if there is a news about a particular city in India, about pedestrian woes, how pedestrians are having problems, how there are potholes on roads, it's a very simple local news story. But you can use it to write your own content by taking the central idea of pedestrian woes and talking about, urban planning and city design, how cities need a better urban planning and, fitting it into that context and creating your own article out of it. So I can go on and on about this. What I'm trying to say is that if you follow news from different sources, you will get a lot of valuable ideas for writing content. The second tip for getting ideas for writing content is Twitter. Now, a lot of us have this misconception that Twitter is only meant, for controversial stuff and, stuff related to news and all. But trust me, guys, Twitter, if you actually go deep into the algorithm of Twitter has accounts of opinion leaders and thought leaders and experts from every possible niche. So whatever your niche is, whether it's business, science and technology, self-help and motivation, all you have to do is, religiously follow the Twitter accounts of the thought leaders and experts in your niche. And by seeing these Twitter threads, and by analyzing those trends and by keeping a track of those trends, you will definitely get some great ideas for writing content. Tip number 3, steal some ideas from Instagram. Now guys, Instagram might not work very well for all areas and subjects, especially for very serious kind of areas, but for areas like art and culture, travel, lifestyle, fashion, even books and literature for that matter, Instagram can work very well. If you follow the accounts of, Instagram influencers, and you would know what I mean, the way content is presented, Instagram has changed that dramatically. If you see Instagram posts and the way reels are made on Instagram, the whole style of content presentation has radically changed. And I think a lot of good elements can actually be borrowed from that style. Guys, we are living in completely different times. So if you just want to stick to the old school as a writer and, and say things like that you find Instagram and, social media algorithms tacky and you would just rather stick to the good old way of writing, then you can no longer survive in these times, because with the changing times, the new style is developing and you have to move with these times. So like I said, the way information is presented on Instagram in different formats, so you get a lot of different lot of different exposure, both in terms of ideas and both in terms of, the layout of your article. How should your content be divided, and, what should be, how to enhance the visual appeal of your content. So like I said, I think you can steal a lot of ideas from Instagram for content writing. Tip number 4, read non-fiction books. Now, this is a relatively straightforward tip. Reading non-fiction books in your niche obviously enhances your knowledge and expertise and gives you a lot of ideas for writing content. And this is one of the most solid tips to get ideas for content writing, because if you read even one book, you will get at least, 10 or 15 ideas from that one book for writing content. So it's very, sort of fruitful in terms of the time you're investing in reading that book. And also the great thing these days is that you can easily available many of the popular books, you can easily download many of these available popular books online for free. So you don't have to invest a lot of money in terms of buying a lot of books. And if you're confused about where to start, which niche to start writing from, I would suggest you pick up a niche like business and entrepreneurship, because it's a very vast niche. You can write about a lot of topics and there's a great demand for professional content in this niche. So gradually, as you further develop your expertise, you can start getting paid work in the business and entrepreneurship niche. And like I said, especially in this subject area, a lot of famous books are just available online for free download. So you can start reading. One more thing to remember while you're reading non-fiction books is to obviously, it's very important to take notes as you go along, or at least write a brief summary of the book after you've finished the book. Because if you just read it like fiction and then just forget about it, then obviously, you're not going to be getting any ideas. So you need to jot those points down. Last tip for getting ideas to create exciting content is YouTube, follow YouTube videos. Now, this might seem like, not a very relevant tip, because a lot of people think that, it's the same kind of content being rehashed on YouTube videos and in blogs. So what different content do I get out of following YouTube videos? But I would say that, again, as a TV journalist, because I worked with the visual media for a long time, I would say that the visual medium, the format of video is very different from the print format. So you would always find new and exciting content and new and exciting ways of presenting your content, just like we did in the case of Instagram. So again, here you don't, if you're just lazy and stick to the top few pages that YouTube throws at you, then you would not find anything. To find something valuable, you have to dive deep down into YouTube algorithm and, move past the couple of few pages, go deep down into the search mode and search some hidden and exciting channels, and you will definitely find some new ideas for writing content. So guys, that's it for today. These are the 5 tips I had to share with you. Lastly, I would just conclude by saying that, all these 5 tips which I mentioned, these are just sources for getting prospective ideas, but that doesn't mean that you have to copy and paste the ideas ditto. Nobody creates great content by copying and pasting. So how you sort of adapt these ideas to your work, how you make them original to your work is up to you. These are just sources for getting those ideas and creative inspiration. So guys, that's it for today. Thank you so much for listening. If you like my video, if you like the content, please do press the like button and do subscribe to the channel. Thanks for listening. Bye for now.